This is King L Bay, and this video is going to be what is the common law. So when we talk about common law, I really want you to understand there are sets of general legal principles or general rules that is the standard for everybody within a particular community or a particular organization or a particular franchise that covers the grounds and the basis for how a particular organization or nation thinks and move and behaves. So when we start talking about the common law, there's degrees of understanding what the common law is. Because a lot of people just think, oh, it's just the common law. And people don't really understand how these connections work. um, there's different sectors of common law that you got to understand to the degree in which you can get a better um, understanding of what the common law is and what do it mean and how to derive to a particular conclusion when you're dealing with courts and you're talking about common law rights. So you got what they call a general provision, and then you have a special provision, and then you have a special which deals in and then you have municipal division that deals has its own common law. So let's go to Black's law, excuse me, so we could talk about the common law. So it says the body of law derived from judicial decisions rather than statutes or constitutions. Okay. Now, understanding and interpreting this body of law, you got to understand when they talk about common law in certain essence. And I try to tell people one of the ways of understanding common law is that you have to understand the Constitution in which it protects. So, for example, if you have a household and you have a marriage, right? And you and your wife is outside of the scopatory of statutory state regulations, you have a right to privatize and have your own contracts and let it be known on the public in a particular way, or let it not be known because you have a right to privacy and confidentiality. So when you dealing with that, you could create your own common law for your household. Um, in regards to that, that is different from the statutory regulations and constitutions. The constitutional right provided by you by the statutes and under the Constitution, Article 1, Section 10. So your family will have its own self-autonomy, and that will be considered the common law of that family. Just like cities have their own common law, their codes and regulations or whatever they may classify their rules and regulations under is the common law for that municipality. And then you have the common law of the state. State statutes, if you understand how the powers get shifted from Congress to the General Assembly. The General Assembly, when you look at the Constitution, it talks about general law. And you got to understand how the Congress gave powers to each state to create their own general laws and that's why they're called the General Assembly within my state, based upon the Constitution, given their derived power from the Constitution. So you got to understand this so you can better equip yourself with understanding when you're reading case law and you're reading things within the constructions of a decision, that you can better understand how they arrive to a conclusion based upon what was in front of them. Because I tell everybody, it's based upon evidence. Everything goes through that court is based upon evidence, and you have to understand how to make a court use particular standards of practice when dealing with your case in particular. So let's look at, it says, a federal common law. The judge make laws of federal courts, excluding the laws in all cases governed by the state law. So you got federal common law. See, that's why I talk about the right to contract is a common law that they can't interfere with. So you see a general federal common law. And it talks about in Erie versus Thompson, the judge-made law developed by federal courts in deciding disputes in diversity cases. Since Erie was announced in 1938, a federal court has been bound to apply as a general matter the law of the state in which it sits. Thus, although there is a federal common law, there is no general federal common law applicable to all disputes heard in federal courts. You get what I'm saying? So they telling you each case is going to be based upon. That's why I tell people, when you're talking about diversity, they're talking about contracts. Private persons to private persons dealing with a contract, that becomes the common law of that transaction in which one had to behave, think, and model his behavior, his business practices after. That's why you have to be very diverse in contracts so that you don't leave nothing out. So the court then will have to utilize certain rules or other regulations when you don't have certain things equipped in your contracts. Let's go on. Common law jurisdiction. See jurisdiction. Now let's look at the common law rule. A judge may rule as opposed to a statutory one. A legal and opposed to an equitable rule. A general rule as opposed to one derived from special law. As a local custom or rule of a foreign law that is based on choice of law principles is applied in place of domestic law and old rule of English law. So when you start looking at this, I'm just trying to tell you there's degrees to understanding this information. And you have to, when you're reading your case law, you have to decipher what is they talking about and what is this really, what are the rules implicated? What is the personam jurisdiction that each institution is under? And how this is applicable, and what did they agree to under certain rules. And you got to understand, when you're dealing with courts and your pleadings, a lot of people don't understand, like, if you foreign to the United States and you bring it to the United States, you have to accept certain things or certain guidelines or make them rule accordingly. And it has to be in the embodiment of your contract. So a lot of people don't understand, if you don't really know how to be diverse in contract law and how to write a contract, then certain rights can be waived through not understanding how to implement um, certain contractual obligations within the contract to ensure that you can get a remedy that you're looking for based upon certain facts and evidence based upon the contracts that is used and then the evidence that support the findings. So you got to understand this. So I just, like a common law trust, see a business trust. Um, just wanted to show you that and talk about the common law so people can understand the common law and how it affects nationality. Let me go down. Let me find natural nationality. Nationality. So it says the relationship between a citizen of a nation and the nation itself customarily involve allegiance by citizens and protections by the state, a membership in a nation. So when you talk about nationality, you got to understand nationality can be within a particular community. A community can form a state or a a confine, a compound in which everyone believes and act and do certain things in which they're customarily to do and they owe their allegiance to. So you got people that move, that comes in foreign countries that move in particular communities, and they then develop that community, and then you see a primary dominance of those particular people having one common interest, one common goal. So that's a form of building nationality. So you got to understand this, and then they come into agreement with other things, and all of this is done through contract. So that's why I try to tell people when we talking about the common law, and specifically to make it more simple, the common law rights of contract. And that's how I try to keep this simplified so when you go to the court, you understand what you're dealing with. Because the courts deal in controversy, especially when you're dealing with the federal court. They only deal in two matters of federal questions and diversity of jurisdiction. And it has to, both of those have to be in sync with controversy based upon contracts. So when you're dealing with stuff, you got to know what you're doing. So a lot of people, when we talk about child support and understanding child support in that degree, you have to understand the instrumentality doctrine. You got to understand when we talk about the instruments can be considered property of a particular organization and group, even contracts. And these instruments can be used as credentials to verify or provide a particular service in which is funded by or funded and resources of a particular organization. So when you talk about child support, one of the issues that brothers are having is the Social Security number. People are not really getting it. The Social Security Administration, that is their instrument in which provides a service in which it is utilized. It gives a number in which is utilized for a particular member of that particular organization, in which they have the right, once you utilize that number and you come under contract, then they have a right to take certain actions according with that number. I mean, I don't understand. Some of this stuff should be in the dark ages by now. I didn't so much information on this, and people are still having a hard time because they don't know how to deal with the court. And that's why I said you have to be a part of an organization to really understand what's going on. So when you look at this, when we talking about even, let's look at this nationality. Let's talk about nationalize. Nationalize. The act of bringing an industry under government control or ownership. The act of giving a person the status of a citizen. Naturalization. Everything is done through contracts. They use all these diversions to get you to think a particular way to move you from really how you need to be thinking to get the solidarity of thought so that you can come up with a rational decision. That's why I said when you come over to M.U.S.T is nothing but a trust protector. What we do is help protect your stuff. You create your own family self autonomy, your institution self autonomies, and must come in based upon what we know, and we help protect your rights. We help you come together. This is about a brotherhood and a sisterhood of togetherness because strength comes in numbers. So when you understand what is the common law, you need to understand what they're talking about in reference when you read the case. Because everybody, I used to go back and forth with certain members in the group about common law. Oh man, I go to court too much. See, if I didn't go to court, then that's one thing. If I didn't win cases, that's another thing. I won a lot of cases, but I ain't gonna lie and tell you I didn't lose. I lost too. Those challenging experiences come with everything, and a lot of people think like, oh, getting all your nationality stuff. This stuff ain't really all that cheap. So you just got to understand what to do, how to privatize, how to secure your interests, and you got to understand your rights to contract and to develop yourself on understanding this information so that you can be stand on your square. So this is King L. Bay. I just wanted to talk about what is the common law and give you a brief summary and a video on this information so you can better be equipped. This is peace and love. Um, King L. Bay, I'm out. Talk to you guys more. Like I said, I'm dropping videos. But for those I forgot, go to the Moorish Universal Society of Tribes and check us out. Check us out. I drop so much information. I drop a lot of stuff on my page. I do a lot of posting. So give us a call at 513-549-7270. King Gale Bay will drop more information on you. I'm gonna drop some information so you can better see what's going on, so we can better move around this, so that we can be able to understand what we're dealing with when dealing with the courts, so we can stop everything. We can stop this confusion. So I'm open. I'm willing to build with other Moors. Let's come on in, but give us a call. Like I said, also let me go to Amazon real quick. Check this. If you have, if you, I know you know somebody on child support. Oh, okay, let's go to King Bay. Go to, you can type in how to stop child support on Amazon. Go get the book. Support the book. The book got a lot of powerful information in it. Those who need services, who really want to understand this information, understanding the power of contract, I can show you. If you need help, I can help you write and draft contracts. So this is King L. Bay. I want you to understand this information. It got a lot of good information in it. So go through the table of contents, read this copyright material. So let's get this done. Let's drop this knowledge. I want to drop this knowledge on everyone so we can keep it pushing for the 2019 going into the 2020 new year so we can make more improvements on this movement. So this is King L. Bay. Just wanted to drop a short video on what is the common law. And I want to say peace, love to all my Moors out there. Peace.